The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with tension as representatives from 30 different species argued about the growing crisis. At the center of the vast circular room, a hologram showed a swirling mass of purple and black energy that was slowly eating away at the edges of known space. Tom Reynolds stood quietly at the back of the chamber, watching the alien representatives shout over each other. His plain gray uniform marked him as human, making him stand out among the colorful robes and natural armors of the other species. He clutched his data pad tightly, knowing the information it contained would only make them angrier. The anomaly has grown another 12% in the last standard week, a tall, ridge-backed alien announced. Ambassador Ward of the Braktar Empire stood proud, his scales gleaming under the chamber's lights. "We must take immediate action. The Braktar are right," rumbled General Koss, his insectoid mandibles clicking with agitation. "We are warriors. We should gather our fleets and attack this threat directly." Tom took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Actually," he said, his voice carrying across the chamber thanks to the audio systems, "approaching the anomaly directly would be extremely dangerous. Our reading suggest." "Ah, the human speaks of danger." Ward's laugh sounded like rocks sliding down a hill. "When do humans not speak of danger? When do they not hide behind their endless safety protocols?" The chamber filled with laughter. Tom felt his face grow hot, but kept his voice steady. "The anomaly is unlike anything we've encountered. It doesn't follow normal physics. We need to study it carefully before." "Study, while it devours our worlds." General Koss planned one of his 4 arms on the podium. "This is why humans will never be true members of the galactic community. You lack the warrior spirit." Tom opened his data pad and projected his findings. "Look at these readings. The anomaly is producing waves of energy that could tear apart any ship that gets too close. We've already lost 3 unmanned probes trying to." "Unmanned probes?" Ward interrupted again. "Of course. Humans, always hiding behind their machines. The Braktar would never show such cowardice. We would face this threat with honor." The council erupted in approving roars. Tom noticed only a few representatives remained quiet, studying his data with concerned expressions. He tried one more time. "The Regani system is in the anomaly's path," he said firmly. 2 billion people live there. If we act rashly and fail, they'll have no chance. We need to understand what we're dealing with. Then understand it quickly, human," Ward sneered. "Because if you won't act, others will. The Braktar fleet stands ready to show you what real courage looks like." As if to emphasize Ward's words, the hologram pulsed ominously. The anomaly had grown again, its edges now clearly visible even at this scale. Tom could see it stretching toward populated systems, like a hungry creature seeking prey. An aide rushed into the chamber and whispered something to General Koss. The insectoid warrior's antenna twitched in what Tom had learned was a sign of distress. "The anomaly has increased speed," Koss announced. "It will reach the outer colonies of the Regani system in 30 standard days." The chamber exploded with shouts and demands for action. Tom looked down at his data pad, at the calculations and simulations he and his team had spent months perfecting. They showed exactly how devastating a direct attack would be. But the council didn't want to hear about careful study or safety measures. They wanted bold action, regardless of the cost. As Tom walked out of the chamber, he sent a message to his research partner Alice. "They won't listen. Start implementing Protocol 7. Behind him, he could hear the council making plans for a grand assault on the anomaly. They called it brave. They called it honorable. Tom called it suicide. But humans hadn't survived this long in space by being reckless. While the council planned their doomed attack, Tom's team would quietly prepare a real solution. Let them call it cowardice. He'd seen too many graves marked with epitaphs of bravery to care about their opinion. The fate of billions now rested on human caution, whether the council liked it or not. The soft hum of computers filled the human research station as Alice Morgan studied the latest simulation results. Her small team worked quietly around her, each focused on their own tasks. The station's walls were lined with screens showing different views of the anomaly, its purple-black mass growing larger with each passing day. "Tom's back," someone announced. Alice looked up to see her research partner entering the lab, his face tired but determined. "How badly did they mock us this time?" she asked, already knowing the answer from his expression. Tom dropped into a chair beside her. "Oh, you know. The usual. Cowards, weaklings, not worthy of being part of the galactic community." He managed a small smile. "But they were too busy planning their glorious attack to notice I recorded new data on the anomaly's growth pattern." Alice pulled up the data on her screen. Her eyes widened. "This matches our theory perfectly. The energy waves are following exactly the pattern we predicted, which means our containment plan could work." Tom leaned forward, pointing at specific numbers. "Look here. The anomaly's outer layer has a regular pulse, if we time it right." A loud alarm interrupted them. On the main screen, a fleet of Braktar warships appeared, heading straight for the anomaly. "They're not waiting for council approval," Alice said, shaking her head. "They're actually going to attack it." Tom quickly opened a communication channel. "Braktar fleet, this is Human Research Station 7. Our data shows your approach vector is extremely dangerous. The anomaly's energy waves will—" "Silence, human." Ambassador Ward's voice boomed through the speakers. "Watch and learn how true warriors face a threat." The human team could only watch as the Braktar ships, gleaming and powerful, formed an attack pattern. Their weapons charged, filling space with bright energy signatures. "At least we can gather data from their attempt," Alice said quietly, activating all their sensors. "Maybe it will convince the council to listen to us next time." The Braktar ships opened fire. Their energy weapons, capable of destroying entire moons, struck the anomaly surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the anomaly pulsed. "Energy spike," one of the human scientists shouted. "It's absorbing their attacks," and the feedback wave hit the Braktar fleet before they could react. Ships began breaking apart. Their own weapon energy turned back against them with terrible force. Ambassador Ward's frantic orders cut through the chaos until his flagship exploded in a blast of green fire. In less than 5 minutes, the entire fleet was gone. Tom closed his eyes for a moment, honoring the dead. Then he turned to his team. "Start implementing containment protocols. The council will have to listen now." Over the next several hours, the human team worked methodically. They launched dozens of sensor buoys, carefully positioned at safe distances from the anomaly. They established backup communication networks and emergency evacuation routes. Every step was double and triple checked. "The council is calling," Alice announced late in the day. "They want to know our progress." Tom straightened his uniform and activated the holographic projector. The council chamber appeared before him, much quieter than before. Many seats were empty, representatives of warrior races who had already launched failed attacks on the anomaly. "The human approach seems slow," General Koss said, his earlier mockery replaced by worried clicks of his mandibles. "The anomaly grows stronger while you place your little sensors. Every hour we spend preparing saves lives later," Tom replied firmly. "Our data shows a way to contain the anomaly, but it requires precise timing and careful coordination. We can't afford mistakes." "And if your careful plan fails?" asked a new voice. Ambassador Lee of the Trading Worlds leaned forward, her crystalline form catching the light. "What then?" "That's why we have backup plans." Alice joined in. "And backups for our backups. We've calculated every possible failure point and prepared contingencies. Your safety measures do not guarantee success," General Koss pointed out. "No," Tom agreed, "but they guarantee we won't make things worse. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is take things slowly and get them right." As if to emphasize his point, another alarm sounded. On the main screen, they watched a group of warrior caste ships dissolve into atoms as they tried to ram the anomaly. The council chamber fell silent. Finally, Ambassador Lee spoke again. "Perhaps Perhaps it is time we tried the human way. Tom nodded. We'll keep you updated on our progress. And I promise you this, we will stop the anomaly. Not with glorious charges or noble sacrifices, but with careful planning and relentless attention to detail. He ended the transmission and turned back to his team. Let's get back to work. We got a galaxy to save. The Regani system's main planet glowed blue and green on the view screen, its cities visible as bright spots on the night side. 2 billion people lived there, still unaware of how close the anomaly had come. The evacuation orders hadn't even gone out yet. The planet's leaders were too proud to admit the danger. 3 days, Alice said quietly, watching the sensor readings. The anomaly will reach their outer defense platforms in 3 days. Tom stood beside her in the observation room of Research Station 7, his face grim. Their careful preparations were almost ready, but they needed more time. Just a little more time. The station's alert system suddenly blared to life. Multiple ships detected. The Regani defense fleet is moving to engage the anomaly. No, Tom whispered. He quickly opened a communication channel. Regani Fleet Command, this is Human Research Station 7. Please hold your position. The anomaly will. We know what we're doing, human, came the sharp reply. The Regani have defended their space for 10,000 years. We will not flee like cowards. On the main screen, they watched the Regani fleet move into attack formation. It was an impressive sight. 500 warships, each one a masterpiece of engineering. Their golden hulls gleamed as they approached the writhing purple-black mass of the anomaly. They're powering up their main weapons, one of the human technicians reported. Energy readings are off the scale. Tom grabbed the communication controls. Regani fleet, please listen. Our sensors show the anomaly is about to. The Regani fleet opened fire. A wall of golden energy lanced out from their ships, more powerful than anything the Braktar had tried. For a moment, it seemed to work. The anomaly's surface rippled and distorted. Then it struck back. The golden energy inverted, turning black and purple. It flowed back along the weapon beams like water down a drain. The first line of Regani ships vanished instantly, transformed into clouds of twisted metal and exotic particles. The second line tried to retreat but was caught in the backwash. Energy levels still climbing. Alice shouted over the alarms. They need to get out of there now. But the Regani fleet wouldn't retreat. Ship after ship vanished into the anomaly's hungry embrace. The few vessels that turned to flee were caught by strange gravity effects, their hulls stretching and snapping like rubber bands. In the command center, Tom's team worked frantically to record everything. Every piece of data could help them prevent more disasters. But they couldn't look away from the screen, where the pride of the Regani Defense Force was being erased from existence. When it was over, the anomaly had grown noticeably larger. It pulsed with new energy, fed by the destruction it had caused. Send all our data to the Council, Tom ordered, his voice heavy. And get me a channel to the Regani government. They need to start evacuating their people now. Hours later, the Council chamber was in chaos. The Regani representatives were demanding immediate action, while other species argued about whose fleet should attack next. Enough. Tom's voice cut through the noise. You've all seen the recordings. Direct attacks make it stronger. More ships, more weapons, more deaths. None of it will work. Then what do you suggest? A Regani elder asked bitterly. That we run away. Hide like humans always do. No. Alice stepped forward, displaying a complex hologram. We suggest you look at this. While everyone else was planning attacks, we've been building something. The hologram showed a network of devices surrounding the anomaly at carefully calculated points. Waves of energy flowed between them, creating patterns that almost matched the anomaly's pulses. This is a containment grid, Tom explained, based on everything we've learned from studying the failed attacks. It won't destroy the anomaly. Nothing can right now. But it will hold it in place, stop it from growing. Give us time to find a real solution. How long to deploy this grid? General Koss asked, his earlier contempt replaced by desperate hope. "We've already started," Alice replied. "While everyone was calling us cowards, we were placing the first nodes. We're ready to begin full containment operations in 20 hours. The council chamber fell silent. On the main display, the anomaly pulsed again, now just 2 days from the Regani system's outer worlds. 20 hours, the Regani elder said softly. "Can you promise it will work?" "No," Tom answered honestly. "But we can promise that if it fails, it won't make things worse. Sometimes that's the best kind of courage, being willing to solve problems slowly, carefully, even when everyone is demanding quick action." He looked around the chamber, meeting alien eyes that no longer held mockery. "Now, who's ready to help us do this right?" The next 20 hours passed in a blur of careful activity. Research Station 7 had become the center of the largest coordinated scientific effort in galactic history. Aliens and humans worked side by side, following the careful procedures Tom and Alice had developed over months of study. "Containment Node 15 is in position," reported a young Regani technician. She had joined them after losing her sister in the fleet's destruction. Like many others, she now saw the wisdom in the human approach. "Double-check its safety buffer," Tom reminded her gently. "Even a small mistake could cascade through the whole system." She finished, already running the checks. "I understand now. Caution saves lives." Alice stood at the main control panel, watching as green lights appeared one by one. Each light meant another containment node was ready, properly positioned, and triple-checked. Around her, dozens of screens showed different views of the anomaly and the growing network of devices surrounding it. "The Council Observation Team has arrived," someone announced. Tom looked up to see a group of alien representatives entering the control room. Ambassador Lee was there, along with General Koss and others who had once mocked human caution. "Welcome to the containment operation," Tom said, turning back to his work. "Please stay behind the yellow safety line." A few of the representatives chuckled at this typically human concern for safety, but the laughter was friendly now, almost admiring. "Node 23 reports quantum fluctuations," Alice called out. "Running diagnostic level 3. The room fell silent. Everyone watched as she worked through the safety protocols, methodically checking each system. It took 10 precious minutes, but finally she nodded. Fluctuations were within acceptable parameters. Node 23 is green. General Koss clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. 10 minutes to check one node. In the time you spend on safety, the anomaly grows stronger. "Yes," Tom agreed, "but each minute spent checking prevents hours of disaster recovery later. Watch." He pointed to a screen showing the anomaly's edges. Strange patterns were forming where the containment node's influence was beginning to take effect. The purple-black mass writhed and twisted, but it wasn't expanding anymore in those areas. "First phase is working," Alice announced. "The containment field is establishing quantum boundaries exactly as predicted." More green lights appeared on the master display. 40 nodes now, then 50, each one carefully positioned and thoroughly checked. The alien observers watched in fascination as the methodical human approach slowly but steadily began to show results. "Energy spike in Section 4, someone shouted. For a moment, panic threatened to break the calm routine. But Tom's team was prepared. "Implementing Contingency Protocol 7, Alice said calmly. "Backup systems engaging. Rerouting power through secondary nodes." The spike subsided. What might have been a disaster was handled smoothly, thanks to careful planning and multiple backup systems. "Remarkable," Ambassador Lee whispered. "Your backup plans have backup plans." "Of course," Tom replied, checking another set of readings. "Because the universe doesn't care about bravery or pride. It only cares about whether you've done things right." Hour after hour, the work continued. No shortcuts were taken. No risks were deemed acceptable. Every step was checked, every reading verified, every safety protocol followed to the letter. "Final node coming online," Alice announced as the 20th hour approached. beginning full containment sequence. On the main screen, they could all see it happening. The network of containment nodes lit up with carefully controlled energy. A web of light surrounded the anomaly, matching its pulses, countering its attempts to grow. "Look at these readings," the Regani technician said excitedly. "The anomaly's expansion has stopped completely." Cheers broke out in the control room, but Tom's team kept working. They checked and rechecked every reading, made sure every system was functioning perfectly. "Phase 1 complete," Tom announced finally. "The anomaly is contained." General Koss stepped forward, his warrior's pride now tempered with new understanding. "I owe you an apology," he said. "I called your caution cowardice. But I see now, this is its own kind of courage. The courage to do things right." Alice agreed, "No matter who calls you a coward." Tom nodded, but his attention was already on the next set of readings, because that was the human way, to keep working, keep checking, keep making sure everything was perfect. The anomaly was contained, but their job wasn't done. It never would be, as long as there were lives at stake. And somehow, that was the bravest thing of all. The containment field had held for 3 days. Inside Research Station 7's main lab, Tom studied the latest readings with growing concern. The anomaly was changing, adapting to their measures faster than expected. "The quantum barriers are holding," Alice reported, "but look at these energy patterns." She pointed to a series of waves on her screen. "It's learning, trying to find weak points." The Regani technician, Mary, who had become a valued team member, looked up from her station. "The containment field is using 30% more power than yesterday. At this rate, the generators won't last another week." Tom nodded slowly. He'd expected this. The anomaly wasn't just some mindless force. It was almost alive, in its own strange way. Containing it wasn't enough. They needed to understand it. "We have to send in a probe," he announced to the team. "One close enough to get detailed readings from inside the containment field." General Koss, who had stayed to observe their work, clicked his mandibles nervously. The last probe that got that close was destroyed in seconds. "That was before we understood the anomaly's energy patterns," Tom explained. He pulled up a detailed diagram on the main screen. "Look here, there are regular pulses, like a heartbeat. If we time it right, a probe could slip through during the quiet moments." The team spent the next 12 hours preparing. They didn't just build one probe. They built 3, each with different sensors and backup systems. They ran hundreds of simulations, calculating every possible thing that could go wrong. "This is what I don't understand about humans," Ambassador Lee said, watching them work. "You spend so much time preparing for failure." "We spend so much time preventing failure," Alice corrected her. "There's a difference." Finally, the first probe was ready. The team gathered in the control room, every screen focused on different aspects of the mission. Tom took a deep breath. "Beginning probe sequence alpha," he announced, "all backup systems standing by." The small probe, hardly bigger than a human hand, moved slowly toward the containment field. Its path had been calculated to match the anomaly's pulses perfectly. One mistake, one wrong move, and it would be destroyed. "Approaching the field barrier," Mary reported. "Energy level stable. Waiting for the next pulse gap." Everyone held their breath. The probe paused, waiting for exactly the right moment. The anomaly pulsed, its purple-black energy flaring. "Now," Alice called. The probe slipped through the barrier just as the pulse faded. For a moment, everything seemed fine. Then warning lights flashed across every screen. "Energy spike," Mary shouted. "The anomaly is reacting." But Tom's team was ready. Backup systems activated automatically. Emergency protocols kicked in. The probe, built to handle 10 times the expected stress, held together. "We're getting readings," Alice said excitedly. "More data than we've ever had. This is incredible." The probe transmitted for 3 minutes before the anomaly's energy finally overwhelmed it. But those 3 minutes changed everything. "Look at this," Tom said, pulling up the probe's final readings. "The anomaly isn't just a tear in space. It's a doorway. Something on the other side is pulling everything in." The implications hit everyone at once. This wasn't just about containment anymore. They might have to close that doorway. And that meant someone would have to get much closer to it than any probe could go. "We'll need to modify a ship," Alice said, already working on calculations. "Something small enough to maneuver, but strong enough to handle the energy fields." "And who would pilot such a ship?" General Koss asked. "Who would dare go that close to the anomaly?" Tom looked at the readings again, thinking of all the lives at stake. "I will," he said quietly. "But we're going to do it the human way. No rushing in. No heroic sacrifices. We plan everything. We prepare for everything. We take every possible precaution." "And then?" Ambassador Lee asked. "And then we save the galaxy," Tom replied. "Not with bravery alone, but with bravery backed by science and safety measures. Because that's what real courage looks like." The team was already moving, beginning the careful preparations that might mean the difference between success and disaster. They had learned that true heroism often looked like people checking and rechecking their work, running one more simulation, adding one more backup system. The anomaly pulsed on their screens, its purple-black mass seeming to watch them. But they weren't afraid. They were ready to face it, not with reckless courage, but with the quiet, determined bravery of being prepared. 5 days of preparation had transformed Research Station 7's main hangar. The small science vessel floating there barely looked like a ship anymore. Its hull was covered in layers of special shielding, and dozens of backup systems had been added to every critical component. "Final system, check complete," Alice announced, her voice tight with worry. She looked at Tom, who was already wearing his flight suit. "Every backup is working. Every safety measure is in place. But Tom, this is still incredibly dangerous." "I know," he replied, checking his suit's seals one more time. "But we've planned for everything we can think of. That's all anyone can do." The control room was crowded now. Representatives from a dozen alien species had come to watch this final mission. Even those who had once mocked human caution now stood in respectful silence, watching the methodical preparations. "The containment field is starting to fail in Section 3, Mary reported from her station. "We have maybe 2 hours before it collapses completely." Tom nodded. They had known this was coming. The anomaly was growing stronger, learning to fight against their containment measures. If they didn't close it soon, all their work would be for nothing. "Beginning pre-launch sequence," Alice said, her fingers moving across the controls. "All stations, report readiness." One by one, the team called in their checks. No detail was too small to verify. No backup system went untested. While the aliens watched, the humans demonstrated their kind of courage. The courage to take time to do things right, even when time was running out. "Remember," Tom said as he headed for the ship, "if anything goes wrong, implement the emergency protocols immediately. Don't wait to see if I can fix it. Don't try to be heroes. Follow the procedures we planned." "We will," Alice promised. "You just focus on coming back alive." The launch went perfectly, every step following their careful plans. Tom's ship moved slowly toward the containment field, its sensors constantly checking for danger. "Approaching first safety marker," he reported. "All systems normal." The anomaly pulsed ahead of him, its purple-black mass seeming to reach for his ship. But Tom didn't rush. He checked every reading, verified every measurement, just as he had practiced hundreds of times in simulations. "Energy spike in Section 2, Mary called suddenly. "The containment field is weakening faster than expected. Implementing backup protocol 5. Alice responded immediately. Rerouting power from secondary systems. The crisis passed, handled smoothly thanks to their preparation. Tom continued his careful approach, now less than a kilometer from the anomaly's edge. I'm picking up strange readings, he reported. The doorway. There's definitely something on the other side. Some kind of space that doesn't follow our physics. Can you get closer? General Koss asked from the control room. Perhaps a quick dash tow. No. Alice cut him off firmly. We stick to the plan. Tom, continue approach pattern Delta. Nice and slow. Tom smiled inside his helmet. The aliens were learning, but old habits died hard. He kept his ship on its careful course, approaching the anomaly 1 calculated meter at a time. At 500 meters, the ship's systems began to strain. Warnings flashed across his screens, but backup systems engaged automatically. Everything they had planned for was happening, and they were ready. Beginning final approach, Tom announced. Activating the closure device. The ship hummed as special equipment came online. They had designed it to seal the doorway, to close whatever portal the anomaly had opened. But first, Tom had to get close enough. 300 meters, he reported. Hull stress increasing. Backup systems holding. In the control room, everyone watched in tense silence. The aliens had seen many brave acts, but never one like this, courage expressed through careful preparation and precise execution. 200 meters. Primary shields failing. Backup shields engaging. Everything working as planned. The anomaly's energy was incredible now, battering the ship from every direction. But every system they had added, every extra check they had made, was proving its worth. 100 meters, Tom said calmly. Beginning closure sequence. All backups ready. This is what we prepared for, everyone. Let's finish this right. The anomaly pulsed one last time, as if knowing what was about to happen. But it was too late. Human caution and preparation were about to prove stronger than any amount of reckless bravery. The ship's hull groaned under the enormous pressure as Tom held it steady at 100 meters from the anomaly surface. No vessel had ever survived this close before. But then, no vessel had ever been so carefully prepared. Closure device at full power, he reported, his voice steady despite the danger. Beginning final sequence. In the control room, Alice watched the readings with intense focus. All backup systems holding. Energy levels are within predicted ranges. The closure device activated, sending carefully calculated waves of energy into the anomaly. They had discovered that the doorway could be sealed, but only if they matched its quantum frequency perfectly. One small mistake would destroy everything. Phase 1 complete, Tom announced. Moving to Phase 2. Suddenly, multiple alarms blared. The anomaly had sensed their attempt to close it and was fighting back. Purple-black energy tendrils whipped toward the ship. Primary shields failing. Mary shouted. Energy levels air. Switching to backup configuration 3. Alice cut in calmly. They had planned for this. Tom, initiate Protocol 7 Alpha. Extra shields snapped into place. Emergency power systems engage. Every backup they had added proved its worth as the ship held together against forces that should have torn it apart. Continuing Phase 2, Tom reported, as if he wasn't in the middle of a battle with reality itself. Closure at 20%, 30%. The anomaly's response grew more violent. Strange shapes moved in its depths, as if something on the other side was trying to prevent them from sealing the doorway. Hull stress exceeding safety margins, Tom said, activating final backup systems. In the control room, the alien observers watched in amazement. They had expected the humans to retreat at the first sign of danger. Instead, they saw them face catastrophic danger with calm preparation and careful execution. Closure at 60%, Tom continued. Primary generator failing. Switching to secondary. Tertiary standing by. The containment field is collapsing, Mary warned. We have minutes at most. But still, Tom didn't rush. He maintained the careful sequence they had planned, trusting in their preparation and backup systems. 80% closure, he reported. Beginning final phase. The ship shuddered as the anomaly made one last attempt to survive. Warning lights flashed across every screen. Systems failed and backups engaged automatically. 90%, 95. A massive energy surge hit the ship. Primary systems failed completely. But the humans had planned for even this. Final backup systems engaging, Alice announced, holding steady for 30 more seconds. That's all we need. The aliens in the control room held their breath. They had seen countless brave warriors die fighting the anomaly. But they had never seen courage like this. The courage to face ultimate danger with careful planning instead of reckless charge. Closure complete. Tom's voice came through static. The doorway is sealed. Running final checks now. The anomaly's purple-black mass swirled one last time, then began to shrink. Without the doorway feeding it energy, it was collapsing in on itself. Beginning retreat sequence, Tom said. All systems damaged but holding. Backup thrusters responding. Slowly, carefully, the ship backed away from the dying anomaly. Even now, they'd followed their safety protocols exactly. Hours later, in Research Station 7's main conference room, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. Tom sat quietly as officials argued about what his success meant for the future. The humans have taught us something, Ambassador Lee said finally. True courage isn't about rushing into danger. It's about facing danger with wisdom and preparation. General Koss nodded, his warrior's pride now tempered with new understanding. We called them cowards because they were careful. We were wrong. Their way saved us all. The human way, Tom corrected gently, isn't about being fearless. It's about respecting danger enough to prepare for it properly. That's what real bravery looks like. Alice smiled as she added another safety protocol to their database. Already, alien scientists were asking to learn human procedures and safety measures. A new age was beginning, one where careful preparation would be respected as much as bold action. So, she asked Tom, ready to teach the galaxy how to be brave the human way. Tom looked at their alien colleagues, now eager to learn what they had once mocked. Yes, he said, but we'll do it carefully with proper planning and multiple backup systems. Alice finished with a grin. Of course, Tom smiled. That's what makes us human. The anomaly was gone, but its legacy would live on. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the greatest courage looks like a checklist, a backup system, and the patience to do things right. The humans had been called cowards, but their kind of courage had saved everyone. And that was the greatest victory of all.